and welcome along to a preview of the County Championship season, brought to you for the very first time from Lancashire TV's brand new studio high up in the Player and Media Centre. I've got Scott Reed alongside me, BBC's cricket correspondent of the North, who's followed Lancashire home and away for the last 10 seasons. Good to see you, Scott.
And you, Paul.
Hopes and aspirations then as we enter 2022 and the start of a brand new 4-day County Championship season and a new format. Yeah,
kind of, well, it's new and old, isn't it, almost? Back to what we were going to have before COVID, which I think is probably the right thing to do. Finished 2019 as second division champions, won a promotion with 2 other teams, and it's important, I think, that perhaps you get a chance of playing the format that was due to take place, which is 10 teams in Division 1, 2 relegated from a possible 10. And I'm really interested to see how it all unfolds. I think there should be some fantastic cricket. I mean, we're talking about some seriously good teams in Division 1. And I think it's right that we go back to what was going to be the case before COVID.
Well, the season has already got underway, of course, Lancashire having a free slot in the first round of games. And what struck me quite clearly is that there have been an awful lot of runs around and an awful lot of good pitches, contrary to the popular belief that has been expounded through the winter.
Yes, it's wonderful to see the scores around the country. Great to see the weather. I mean, obviously that's a big thing. It has been a debate which started really at the back end of the pretty poor Ashes series, and the condition of pitches and whether or not we produce good batters. There's been that much kind of column inches written about it and broadcast on the TV and the radio. It was really good to see players get some runs in this opening round of fixtures. I hope that's a sign of things to come. I hope that's a sign of having good pitches, having to work hard to take wickets to win games. It should be difficult to win 4-day matches, and you should have to work hard for it, and let's hope that's the case.
Well, like Lancashire find it here at Emirates Old Trafford, of course. But starting this season, Lancashire begin away at Kent. Where are Lancashire setting themselves, do you think, for this season, having had such a good County Championship season last season?
Well, I think they will set themselves as being one of the favourites to win the title. I think that there's probably, in my opinion, maybe 3 or 4 teams that will be right up there challenging for it. I'd expect Lancashire to be right up there. And it wasn't just last season. The 2019 season was a season of outstanding cricket. I know it was Division 2, but I think the quality of cricket we witnessed in 2019, I think had Lancashire been a Division 1 team that year, I think they would have challenged for the title that season. So there's a sense of consistency here. The last 2 years have been slightly different because of COVID, obviously 2020 in particular. But 2019, 2021, 2 really good seasons where they played some very, very good cricket, especially the first set of group games last year. I thought that was outstanding. To get into Super September, into Division 1, I thought the quality of cricket that Lancashire played was terrific. I'm not so certain that they quite got back to that level in September. I know they hammered Somerset, but they looked pretty shot. And obviously there's that epic game against Hampshire at Aigburth. But I think the consistency levels, 2019 to 2021, have been really impressive. I think Lancashire will be right up there. And I think they should be right up there with the quality of player that they've got to compete to win the title.
Well, it's been Media Day at Emirates Old Trafford, and Warren Hegg has been roaming around the outfield and the old pavilion, and he caught up with head coach Glenn Chappell.
Thanks, Paul. Delighted to be joined by head coach Glenn Chappell here at the Lancashire Media Day 2022. Chappie, preparations done, pre-season done, last little bit of work done?
Yeah, we've got a couple more training sessions this week before we go down to Kent, but all in all, we've gone pretty well. We had a good pre-season tour to Dubai, the 2 weeks out there. A little bit hot, but can't really complain compared to how it was back here. And then a few warm-up games we've had. We've been to Kent, Derby, One washed out at Yorkshire, but we've had enough prep now. I think the boys are ready.
And ready to start at Canterbury on Thursday against a strong Kent side. Side all ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Not too many injury problems. We've got a strong team, difficult selection, which is what you want. The lads are ready. Kent is as good a place as any to go regarding the weather. Hopefully we get 4 days in and play good cricket.
A couple of new faces on the team this year. We've got Hassan Ali as our overseas player, and of course Phil Salt has joined us this year. Have they settled in well?
Yeah, Salty's been here for a while. He had a few commitments in the winter with some franchise cricket, but he's been here for a while now, had a good pre-season with us, scored some runs, some quality runs already, so he looks in good shape. He's fitted in really well. He's a good team man as well. Hassan's just arrived, but world class performer, very competitive, and really excited to see him play for us.
I suppose it's been great seeing Saki back and Jimmy back in the fold. Have they got a chance of playing this week?
Well, we'll see. Jimmy's not quite ready. The plan was to get Jimmy ready for game 2 or 3. So everyone's, Jimmy's obviously going to be excited for that. But we'll see with Saki. He only got back last week, so we'll do the right thing for him and the squad. And we've got everybody fit, so we'll be able to manage our bowling resources through the first 6 weeks.
Fantastic. And big seasons for some players. Josh Bohannon coming into the England Lions fold this year. He's looking forward to a good year?
Bosch has worked really well all winter. I think some would argue he was slightly unlucky not to be close to selection for the last England trip, but his early record is fantastic, and if he can keep doing what he's been doing, that'll put him in good stead. But he's worked really really well this winter and looks switched on.
So the boys are all fit. Final preparation is done. Best of luck for this season, and back to Paul in the studio.
Yeah, thanks very much, Warren. Glenn not giving an awful lot away there about the upcoming game against Kent. I think it's pretty obvious, though, Scott, that it's a long winter and pre-season's gone pretty well, or as well as can be expected. Beginning at Kent, good memories from last year, because that was a fantastic victory that Lancashire pulled off in 2021 at Canterbury.
It was, yeah. It was that part of the season where I thought Lancashire were playing some fantastic cricket, and that was a really good win, wasn't it? I mean, the way that Parky bowled, something like 50 overs on the spin.
Virtually all day, didn't he, the
yeah.
last day, and it was freezing cold as well.
And then, of course, Luke Wood and Danny Lamb. There was so many good things happening in that, but it was a really good team performance, wasn't it, across the board. I think Lancashire have got a relatively decent record at Kent recently. I always tend to think Lancashire play quite well down there, so hopefully it continues.
Well, let's hope so in the next week or so. Team selection is interesting. There's going to be no Keaton Jennings. He's got a bit of an injury and will miss certainly the first game. So no Alex Davis, he's moved on to Warwickshire. So a new opening partnership for Lancashire, and it looks like possibly Wells and Balderson.
Which is quite exciting, isn't it? I mean, it's a great chance again obviously Luke's an experienced player now, we know that. But it's a really exciting chance that if it is to be George Balderson to open the batting for George, first game of the season, to be given that opportunity. I've been really impressed with him. I mean, he looks like a really calm, level-headed type of lad. You could tell why he would captain England's under-19s, for example. The way he speaks about the game, the way he conducts himself is really impressive. So he's got a great chance, if that turns out to be the case, that he opens the batting. It'd be a fascinating team on Thursday, with the addition of course, the 2 new lads that are going to come into it. You know what you're going to get with Luke Wells. We're talking a proper player here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, and he did really well last year, didn't he? Ended up averaging almost 40, I think, in first-class cricket. Interesting one for me. Who's going to keep wicket? Well, there are 3 people on the horizon, as it were. There's Phil Salt, the new boy. There's Dane Vilas, the captain, and George Lavelle, who kept in the last few games last year. Yeah,
I think if having had a little bit of a brief chat with Phil today, I would be surprised if it wasn't Phil Salt keeping wicket. I wonder whether that's also part of the reason why he came to Lancashire as well, to be given that opportunity. If he keeps wicket, he's probably going to bat in the middle order. Again, that's something slightly different for him in red ball cricket. He's played most of it at the top end. But I think Phil Salt is a pretty safe bet, I would think, for keeping wicket. It takes a little bit of the pressure off the captain, doesn't it? And obviously George Lavelle's an exciting player, clearly a talented lad. But Phil probably a little bit ahead of him in terms of the preference to keep wicket. I'm really looking forward to watching Phil Salt, especially in red ball cricket ball. I mean, we've seen him in white ball. We know what he can do in white ball cricket, a really destructive player. I think in the red ball format, I think it'd be fascinating to watch how Phil Salt gets on, especially in that middle order, which gives him a little bit more licence to kind of express himself.
We'll be hearing from him a little bit later on in the programme. Just you mentioned Lamb and Wood, Danny Lamb and Luke Wood. They had a great partnership last time. I think that's quite an important axis for Lancashire, that all-rounder axis. Without
doubt, I think for any team, isn't it, to have an all-rounder that will contribute with bat and with ball. I go back to the couple of years before Tom Smith's injury, for example. What a bonus that was to have Smith contributing with wickets and with runs. It just helps balance your team, that, doesn't it? So those two potentially in a little bit of competition with each other, which is obviously healthy. They obviously both had a great performance last year at Kent. They're clearly both very different bowlers, obviously. But that's quite intriguing to see how that develops. Having a good all-rounder in your team, that's absolutely vital, isn't it? Someone that can do both. Glenn mentioned the seam bowling department. Jimmy Anderson not quite ready. It sounds as though Saqib Mahmood won't be playing either. So you've got your two England internationals, as it were, that will hopefully rotate into the team. But apart from that, of course, we've got Tom Bailey and Hassan Ali, the overseas, and we've already mentioned the two other seamers. So the seam bowling department looking pretty strong. Which is crucial, isn't it? We're talking about a long season. We've mentioned at the top there about potentially pitches being good and being difficult to bowl sides out, as it should be. You should have to work hard for your wickets. So having a good selection of seam bowlers, the amount of hard work that they go through every game, I think is absolutely vital, isn't it? You've got to have a broad stock of seam bowlers to get through a season to win enough games to win a championship title. Tom Bailey, I think, is absolutely terrific. And I know Saqib Mahmood's had a great winter to play for England, play Test cricket for England. Loads of attention today at Media Day on Jimmy Anderson for obvious reasons. We're excited to see Hassan Ali come because of his record in international cricket is brilliant. Tom Bailey, consistently now, season in, season out, is as good a county bowler as there is on the circuit. So he quietly goes about his business without much kind of attention, which maybe he enjoys, I don't know. But yeah, he kind of leads that attack. Even though there's senior guys around him, Jimmy's around and Hassan Ali's around and Saqib's a test match bowler now, I always feel that Tom is kind of leader of that attack. He seems like a really senior pro in the dressing room. Yeah, well, he's certainly a captain's dream. We've heard from the head coach. Now it's the turn of Dane Vilas speaking to Warren Hegg.
Thank you, Paul, and delighted to be joined by Lancashire captain for the 2022 season, Dane Vilas. Dane, great to have you here. Preparation all done now, pre-season over with. We're thinking about the championship against Kent on Thursday.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we're really looking forward to the season. You know, watching the games this weekend was a bit hard because the boys are keen and excited to get out there as ever. I think the pre-season was amazing. I think it's one of our best that we've ever had. Boys are fit and fired up, and you know everybody's hopefully playing well. They're looking. The warm-up games has been fantastic. So, like I said, definitely keen to get out and playing this weekend.
So close last season to winning that championship. The boys played so well. You personally had a great end to the season. Is that a bit of a real fillip for you to push ever closer for this year?
Yeah, we know we need to go one step further and avoid that disappointment we had last year. I think the disappointment was only one day that was really disappointing. Other than that, the season was fantastic. Everybody played so well. It was a good team performance. Everybody put their hand up at certain times. And if we can replicate that this season and avoid that last day, the blues that we had, which will be fantastic as well, just to push for that.
And we've moved back to two divisions this year now. First and the second division. We're in the top division, rightly so as well.
Yeah, I think so. You know, obviously the mandate from 2018 when we got relegated was to get back up into the first division, which we did in 2019 and did really, really well, played well there. Unfortunately, with everything that went on around the world, not being able to go back to playing that was a bit of a stumbling block for us, but we're excited in this now. I think the guys are excited. We want to compete in Division 1, which is obviously the ultimate prize for players around the country, and to do well in that and hopefully push for some silverware.
Well, we've talked about our lads being back, and we're joined by James Anderson. We've got Matty Parkinson back in. Saki's back here for us. But some of the local lads have been doing really well in pre-season. Josh Bohannon in particular.
Yeah, Bowie's been incredible the last year, the last couple of years for us. Has been fantastic. He's playing really well now in this pre-season. He's netted really well. He's gone everything is fit. There's a lot of pressure on him because he's going to be one of our star performers with the bat, hopefully, and we're going to rely a lot on him. But we're saying that rely a lot on a lot of the other guys who have done well. Nice to have sort of the top order with Keats and Wellesley and everyone pushing through. Young Baldy is going to hopefully do well for us as well. So yeah, there's a lot of talent, a lot of guys coming through, and we're going to rely on a lot of everyone really, just to make sure it's a team effort to get over the line.
Glenn mentioned before that the Wednesday night's team selection meeting may be a bit of a headache because so many good players, so many good young players in form, but surely that's a good thing to have.
Yeah, it's a great thing to have. You want those type of headaches as opposed to just seeing who we're going to pick. So it's great. Everybody's pushing, everybody's ready to go, and it's going to make for some interesting conversations and tricky decisions, but that's where we are. That's the nature of the game, and that's the nature of a great club like this. We want to be pushing, and everybody wants to be fighting for that first name on the team sheet spot.
Dano, great for you to join us again. All the best for the 2022 season, and back to Paul in the studio.
Well, thanks very much, Warren. Plenty of enthusiasm there from Dane Vilas, as you'd expect. You've followed him over the last few years, both as a player and a captain. How important is he to Lancashire?
Oh, goodness, I think he's absolutely vital. Lancashire fans who have watched the live stream now for a number of years will probably be bored of me talking about Dane Vilas and how significant he is and how inspirational it looks like he is, how at times you feel like he kind of drags the team with him. So yeah, the way he captains the team, the way he carries himself, the way he speaks, a seriously impressive fella. I mean, you mix that in with the fact that he's a bleeding good player as well, So perhaps for his high standards, maybe last season, just perhaps not quite at his high standards, but they're so high, his standards. Of course, the 2019 year was exceptional for him. So yeah, absolutely vital. I think he captains the team wonderfully.
He does. I think you've summed it up. He does lead by example, and he does take the team with him. And that's self-evident if you spend any time around him, just by watching him on the field, but certainly at close quarters, which I've been fortunate enough to be for a few years. He really is the number one light in the dressing room. He mentioned, I'll have to pick him up on this, because he did mention we only had one bad day last summer. I think he's referring to the last day of the season when Warwickshire beat Somerset. But as far as Lancashire were concerned, they probably feel they let themselves down against Nottinghamshire in the one, and it's perhaps pernickety to pick on one game, but when you're looking at winning trophies and winning titles, I think you have to be have that form of scrutiny.
I think you do, and I think when you're trying to do it at this level against the quality of opposition that there is, it shows you how little margin for error there is as well. How an hour or two over a course of a 4-day game can completely take it away from you and can be ultimately quite costly. It was such a shame at Trent Bridge that I don't think they did themselves justice massively in that 4-day match. I touched on with you before. I thought the standard of cricket in the first 10 matches of last season was outstanding. I just don't think they quite hit those heights, with the exception of Somerset, who looked pretty shot, and that epic Hampshire match. But yeah, that probably was. I left Trent Bridge thinking that might well be it, and then of course we had Egbert, didn't we?
We did, of course. Let's look forward, though. And Dane was talking about the squad and the strength of the squad and the young players within it. And two young players he mentioned in particular. One was Josh Bohannon, not surprisingly, averaged over 50 in county championship cricket last year. Much expected of him.
Without doubt, and I'm sure from himself, to see if he can match that again and go again and maybe even try and better it if he can. I remember when Josh came into the team at the Oval, the day-night championship match. Remember those day-night championship games? That was a great idea. And he came out batting under the lights about 20 past 8 at night. Morné Morkel was bowling with a pink ball. It was hostile, it was aggressive, it was one of the best bowlers that season, and of course, his test record will back that up. And he got through that session, did Josh, didn't he, that night at the Oval, and then following day went on and got a half century. And he's not really looked back from that, has he? And leaving that match there against Surrey, you're thinking, Lancashire have got a player here. And he's been a little bit up and down the order, but he seems to have settled in that position now at number 3. I think that's where he wants to bat. He had a fantastic year last year. He's a proper player, isn't he? And looking forward to see if he can do it again.
Yeah, I think we all are, and I'm sure all Lancashire's members and supporters are hoping that he will as well. The other youngster that got a mention was George Balderson, who has been on the fringes of the side, but started to look as though he was settling in towards the end of last year.
Yeah, I think he comes across as a really impressive character. I remember speaking to him at New Road when Lancashire were playing Leicestershire at Worcestershire's ground, and I asked him what's his stronger suit, and bat or ball, and he said I'm not quite sure yet. So I look forward to chatting with him again this year to see if he's worked it out, which one's his stronger suit. But I suspect probably batting, and I think that, I mean, the fact he can offer something with the ball is great for the team. But I would think he's going to get into the team, it's going to be with his batting, not with his bowling. And looks like a very organised player, seems to leave the ball well, seems to like a bit of pace onto the bat as well, which is quite good. So yeah, I think, again, one to look out for.
Yeah, there's an emphasis on squad because, as I mentioned earlier, there are going to be England call-ups. But Dane was very keen to impress that everybody wants to be the number 1 name on the team sheet. I think that goes for the whole staff.
Yeah, and I think that's great, isn't it? I think I mean, I cover quite a bit of football as well. You speak to football managers, regardless actually of the sport. Competition's good, isn't it? Competition brings out the best in people. So if you've got good competition, then in theory you should be able to pull each other along and help each other along. It's a long season, isn't it? It's a long slog when you start in April and finish at the back end of September, and across those months, pretty certain that everyone's going to get a chance at some stage to try and impress.
2 new boys within the Lancashire ranks this year. Warren Heggers caught up with one of them.
Thanks, Paul. And now joined by new recruit Phil Salt. Salty, joining Lancashire for the first time. Welcome. Looking forward to it?
Yeah, definitely. We've had a good pre-season. Lads been away. It's a top group of boys. And then since coming back, we've had a few more games. It's a bit of a pain not to play the first round this week, looking around the country, seeing all the scores going up. But, really looking forward to cracking into it at Kent.
I suppose as a new player as well, you're joining a new club. All you want to do is get out there, get on the field and get started.
100%. You want to show everybody how good you are. That's what it's about. You'll have a new set of fans that probably wouldn't have seen that much of me. I want to show my teammates and the coaches what I can do. So, I'm really looking forward to it and hopefully put my best foot forward.
Fantastic. Kent, the first game, off down to Canterbury. Hopefully a little bit warmer down there, but a good game, strong Kent side.
Yeah, they're a good team. They've been a good team for a few years now. They're the smart side as well. They know how to sort of play at Canterbury using the slope and all the rest of that. So there will be a good side, but I think last time Lancs went there, they did pretty well. So the boys are looking forward to it.
You've had pre-season now. You mentioned the preparation. Dubai go good? Is it a really important part of pre-season?
Yeah, definitely. It's good for boys that have been in the indoor school for most of the winter to get out and sort of be outside and spend a bit of time and get their overs into the legs. So that's obviously very important. For myself, it was, I've been outside for most of the winter, so it was good just to get to know the lads, spend a bit of time around each other, build a few relationships. So I think from that point of view, every box has been ticked.
You've been around now for 6 months or so here at Lancashire Cricket, and you've seen the squad in good detail. Ambitions for this year?
Well, hopefully a few trophies. We all know how good the side is. We know how good the sort of depth is. It's going to be a really tough team to pick in a few days' time. And I don't envy Chappie for having to do that job. But hopefully we put a few trophies on the board because we know as a squad how good we are. And, if we play our best cricket, we'll be right up there.
And you've seen the international boys come back into the fold now. Matty Parkinson, you've got hopefully James Anderson back. Saki's back in the fold now. So that really adds to our strength.
Yeah, definitely. You've got Sak and Parky, as you just mentioned, along with Jimmy. Having someone like Jimmy in your side is, I don't know, it's a bit surreal, to be honest, seeing him running at you. I've not played against him before in first-class cricket, so the other day when he was having a bowl at me, it was the first time that he's done so, and it is quite surreal, actually, you know, being around him almost. You know, he's a Test legend, and his record speaks for itself, so it will be good to have him back.
Salty, all the best for this coming season, mate. Everyone's rooting for you. Welcome to the fold, and good luck. Back to Paul in the studio.
Well, Phil Salt seems to have settled in quite nicely. We're expecting great things of Phil. I mean, he's a quality pedigree player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to improve Lancashire, I think, in all formats, isn't he? I know we're going to look ahead to the one-day stuff and the T20s later on, but I don't really see how he doesn't make Lancashire better, really. I mean, and I think perhaps for him, it's a challenge, certainly red ball cricket, for him to develop his game as well. The addition of keeping wicket is a huge bonus, isn't it? But I mean, you get, before every season, you think about who you're going to look out for and potential players that might catch the eye. It's also some of the new recruits which are exciting to see for the first time. It's obviously a little bit of Phil play, but looking forward to seeing him, especially if he does bat 5 or 6, what it would be like with the gloves and bat in there.
Hassan Ali has just landed this week. Have you seen much of him?
Only bits on television, yeah. I don't think I've seen him live yet. I was thinking about that on the way in, whether I have. I don't think so. His record's outstanding, isn't it? What a smart signing that would be. I mean, in theory, he looks like he has the game to benefit and to play well in England.
Well, I think Glenn Chappell's always on the lookout for quality seamers, and he's a pretty good judge. So I think this is probably a Glenn-inspired signing, to be honest.
Well, if he's good enough for Glenn, then he's good enough for the rest of us, as you say. He knows a bit.
Just looking on at the rest of Division 1 then, who do you see the main threats to Lancashire being?
I think Hampshire. And I know we've got the benefit of hindsight to a little degree, because obviously we've had a round of fixtures already, but Hampshire pressed Lancashire and indeed Warwickshire all the way last year. I see no reason why they wouldn't do that again. In fact, if anything, I think a little bit like Lancashire, they're probably stronger. I think the signing of Ben Brown is a really smart signing. I think that will help balance their team a little bit and maybe get them to play a spinner as well. So I think if you've got a bowling attack that has Barker and Abbas and Abbott, they're going to be a threat. So I would say Hampshire. Warwickshire are the defending champions, but I was listening to Paul Farbrace the other week, and he admitted he doesn't think that they're the best team in the country, even though they are the county champions. So how well they will do defending their title will be quite interesting. And Essex have been excellent now, haven't they, for a number of years? I think those will be the four teams, I think. Yeah.
I don't think there'll be too many easy matches, though, will there be in the division?
Absolutely not, no. I think Lancashire are playing Hampshire just once, which might be quite handy. Conversely, maybe a bit of a shame that if those two teams are going to be two of the better teams, they only play each other once, but both sets of players might be quite pleased with that. But you're right, I don't think in Division 1, certainly, you get many easy games.
Lancashire being tipped in various quarters to be county championship contenders come September. Do you see that coming to fruition? I would be most surprised if Lancashire were not challenging for the title, and I'm basing that not just on kind of blind faith. I'm basing that on the fact that there's a very good squad of players. They played excellent cricket last year and they were terrific in 2019. It just feels like this particular group of players, with the addition of one or two others, plus one or two that have come through, I would be more surprised if Lancashire were not challenging for it. And I think perhaps the dressing room down below us would be more surprised if they were not challenging for it. Yeah, they're really enthusiastic about the upcoming season. Who do you see specifically, if you wanted to see a really good season and have some real fun and enjoyment watching Lancashire? Who are the guys that are going to really come to your attention?
Well, the exciting thing about that is that it's actually perhaps more of the unknown that's quite intriguing, because you could put all the names in the hat, pull it out, and say if this player has a really good season, that wouldn't be a massive surprise. So it's a degree of the unknown which excites me. You always sometimes get a player coming through that you don't expect. I know we've touched on Josh Behan, and I think he will have a really good season. I'm really intrigued to see how Tom Hartley progresses in his career, George Lavelle likewise when he gets given a chance. And then there's other players in and around it, the likes of Rob Jones, who hopefully will have a good season and perhaps struggled a little bit last year. And fingers crossed, this could be his year.
Exciting times. Let's hope you have a good summer, Scott.
Well, I can't guarantee that.
Let's sincerely hope that Lancashire have a good summer. Everything gets underway county championship-wise as far as Lancashire concerned down at Canterbury on Thursday, and you can follow all that live on all the club's social media channels. And you can also follow it with Scott live on the BBC. He'll be there. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.